I was listening to the New York Times' The Daily podcast this morning, and of course, it was all about how this Peyton McNabb, it's a culture war issue. She was injured by a trans woman. You know, they don't talk about the biological realities of who, like, some people are still confused by that term. We talk about it so often here, our audience is not. But they're intentionally obfuscating what happened there. And for most people, I think this was a breath of fresh air to hear Trump get this specific on what's real and what's not. But again, the Democrats sat and did nothing, sot six.
There are only two genders, male and female.
I'll tell you something, Mark. For me personally, having covered this very closely for a long time, it was heartening enough just to see all the Republicans on their feet for that. You know, that 5 years ago, that would have been a very dicey thing to say in this setting. And even the Republicans would have been unsure about whether they could stand and clap on that. So I'll take that victory where I can get it.
Yeah. I mean, on this issue, the pendulum swing way too far, not for extremists, not for activists. It's swing way too far for a big majority of the country. And now I think there needs to be a reasonable conversation about when it swings back, where should it stop as it swings back? Because it will swing back some. There needs to be a serious conversation. I think for most Americans, there's a big difference between kids and adults. And so I see how people on the left are upset. They say, you know, this is inhumane, this is dehumanizing, this is shaming people. Well, they're going to have to recognize that their failure to acknowledge how far they let the pendulum swing, and not just let it swing, how far they swung it. They're going to have to figure out. They're going to have to figure out where can they accommodate understanding the majority and stop acting like they're the majority where the pendulum swung.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even when I interviewed Trump in September of 23, and I asked him, can a man become a woman? He was uncomfortable. He was like, well, I say no, I don't think so. You know, like, he's gotten much more bold. And of course we saw that on the campaign trail. And it's something to have him say that in the House chamber on a night as big as that. So that's a win. And the Democrats either will come along or they'll get left behind. We'll have to wait and see. You know, there were audible boos and pushback when Trump talked about his historic victory. They really don't like to acknowledge that on the left. And that's when Al Green got up there and started harassing Trump. And, sort of things got chaotic inside of the chamber. But this was debated, interestingly, the other day when Stephen A. Smith went on The View. And Joy Behar, she too pushed back. And even on this morning's The Daily, Maggie Haberman was pushing back on just how historic the victory. They really don't want to say historic. They don't want to say mandate. They don't want to say any of the things that Trump says. And they put it under the guise of like fact checking him. Here, let me show you the exchange that I'm talking about with Behar and Smith, SOT 27.
He won the popular vote by 1.5%, one of the smallest ever, and he won the general election by less than 50%. So what kind of mandate is this really?
Well, it is a mandate, and I'm going to explain why. And I don't mind the question, but let me be very clear. I'm no supporter of Trump. I'm a supporter of truth and the facts. And here's the facts. The man won every swing state. He increased in terms of his voter turnout in his favor from the standpoint of blacks, Latinos, and young voters. He increased his numbers in that regard from 2020. 89% of the counties shifted to the right. That's a mandate. I don't understand how people can look at that and say, there's no mandate. There's a mandate.
Well, it's a different definition of a mandate, I guess.
It's very funny to me. Let's just keep redefining it until I feel better.
The people who on that set and in Congress and on MSNBC who want to litigate the size of the mandate and want to minimize his victory are spending time not trying to understand why he won. Someone who they think is the worst person in the world. Someone who won after the events of January 6th, who won after denying he lost the election in 2020, who won after 4 years of a term that they consider to be a complete abomination. They need to spend more time for their own good and for the good of the country answering the question, not how big is his mandate, but why was he able to win? How did he win? And how is he governing now in a way that's almost unbothered by the Democrats' efforts to slow him down?
Your co-host over on Two Way, Dan Turrentine, we love him too. He's a Democrat. He tweeted out the following. I love my party, but tonight was a new low. I get silence on this or that policy and the raw politics of the base's anger. But for not a single Democrat to stand and applaud a boy's brave battle with cancer or a man's admission to West Point, which was a surprise Trump gave to one of the audience members, was a classless disgrace. And maddeningly, while overall Trump's speech was politically good, there were political holes that could be exploited, juvenile taunts that voters hate, and comical lies. But much of that will be buried by our self-inflicted stupidity. Do you agree with that? And how will it be buried? Like, what happens from here? The media coverage in the wake of the speech and just the tone setting that happened last night.
Well, I do agree with Dan. It's one of the reasons we like him so much at Two-Way and why he's so popular with honest Democrats and with a lot of centrists and moderates and independents and some Republicans, because he's willing to say the truth. You know, I watched more MSNBC last night after the speech than I usually do because I was super curious to see if they would acknowledge what had happened. And instead, Nicole Wallace basically demonized the little boy. The question of what happens next, I think everybody assumes, as I did after the election, that the Democrats would get their act together. I think last night demonstrated as both cause and effect. They're far from getting their act together. If that's the best they could do on a night like that, to just completely have the biggest own goal I can remember in an event like that, they got a long way to go. And President Trump all presidents are in danger of overreaching. But I think he's now basically competing against himself because there is no Democratic opposition that's putting up a meaningful challenge to what he's doing by executive order, by what he's doing in Congress, at least so far. There are some things that are going to require Democratic support. And I think one danger for him, you know, he certainly faced, you know, the kind of heckling that Democrats used to decry. I mean, I've listened for years how Democrats had one South Carolina Republican, Joe Wilson, said to Barack Obama, "You lie." They still talk about that as a desecration of the State of the Union and of the presidency. Last night, you know, there were countless things just like that. I think the president's going to have to decide if he can govern and the things that are going to require some Democratic senators at least to vote his way. Can he govern if he is not turning the other cheek to when he is slapped? And that's going to be a challenge for him because, again, there are some things that require Democratic support. And after last night, I don't know where those votes are going to come from.
I know. I mean, with not a single Dem voting for the Protect Women and Girls in Sports Act, not a single Democrat voting for cloture on that bill, I don't know what he's going to get any crossover votes on. I really don't. That one's just such a no-brainer. This is not Megyn Kelly and her wishful thinking. It truly is an 80% support issue. It was a very simple, clean bill. It wasn't filled with a bunch of weird things that might get them in trouble. And they didn't vote for it. So yes, he'll get his budget bill through because he can do that with just 51 votes. You don't need a cloture vote on that. So that'll be good. But I don't know what's going to happen on the rest of his agenda when we're speaking about legislative wins. It doesn't seem very promising. Okay, on your point about what the Dems are going to do and like they're getting their act together, apart from their little bingo signs, you know, their little auctioneer signs, false. They released this weird thing on video this week that's making some news. What the heck happened here? So first, some eagle-eyed X users noticed that a few of these Dems, I think it was Senator Schumer, Senator Warren, and Senator Cory Booker, seem to be using the exact same script to just drop these sort of, you know, FU videos to Trump. Here's how it first emerged.
When I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
That ain't true. That's what you just heard. Since day one of Donald Trump's presidency, prices are not down, they're up. Inflation is getting worse, not better. The prices of gross gas,
and then it emerged that at least 22, I think it's up to 23 senators did the exact same thing that we just saw there. Here it is, SOT 26.
When I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
It's amazing. They're all obviously reading. They're following an exact script. They actually seem to stand and sit at the same point as well. The whole thing's scripted, choreographed. What's going on there? And
yeah,
that was just released on social media. So I guess this is the new, like, younger, hipper, digital lane Dem.
They all have that same little mic too.
Yeah.
One of the few areas since the election where the Democrats have found a correct diagnosis, not a necessary cure, correct diagnosis is they're way behind in organic social media and in creation of social media by political players. Charlie Kirk, Steve Bannon, they're no analogs like for them on the left. Okay. So they say we need to do better. We need to create more compelling content on a regular basis. Their challenge is it's very hard to do quickly, and it's very hard to match fake stuff like that, scripted stuff like that, to beat organic, because the organic stuff is so powerful and it involves big personalities who develop followings over a long period of time, consistent performing. This is synthetic, but it's at least an effort to put out. It's somewhat compelling. Now, I don't know if they didn't think they'd get caught, or maybe they thought it would be good to have it amplified by having having the kind of coverage you're engaged with it now. But again, it's one of the few areas where they're at least acting on a correct diagnosis, which is they are so far behind. And of course, in the Obama years, they were far ahead, and now they're far behind. And they have to be players in podcasting and video and programs like this in the creation of social media for TikTok and other places. At least in this case, they're trying, they're bringing in people. They spent a lot of time with liberal creators yesterday, the Crooked Media guys and other people. They're far away from where they need to be. But again, at least this is a single area where they're making an effort.
Elon Musk tweeted out, I'll give somebody a free Cybertruck if they can tell me who created this script, like who is patient zero on this. And I guess Cory Booker today said it was me. And you can keep your Cybertruck, which was a dumb addendum because who wouldn't want a free Cybertruck? But I guess he was behind it. Here's the thing, though. If you have kids, you know the rule is the last thing you want to be is cringe, right? If you're going to do it, you got to do it well, and you're not supposed to be cringy. That was cringy. So was this by Representative Jasmine Crockett, who I think is 42 years old, not 28. Someone should have told her that before she dropped this video before the State of the Union or joint address to Congress last night. Watch.
Yeah, they tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence. Hey, I'm tripping, I'm sliding, I'm riding through the back like Must have on a beat, bro, deep boat in the
rap. A little Kendrick Lamar dance.
Man down, call like Amber Lambs, tell them breathe.
Two backups.
Boys to the cross, they walk around like T's. What's up with these?
And it ends Jasmine Crockett with her signature.
I will say that version's better than the one that Dick Durbin did. I don't know if you saw that one, but hers is better. No, I'm kidding. Kidding. I just like the thought of Dick Durbin doing his version.
Oh my God. That was too much for my brain to handle. I just think it's ridiculous. There's no dignity. It's like you could be cool. You could do a fun video. I mean, I have to say in most ways, AOC understands this and she uses social media very effectively. This is not it. And to me, it just shows that they're struggling. You don't go out and buy a life jacket when the boat is sinking, and you don't buy gold when the economy has already collapsed. Clearly others are heeding this advice as gold hit all-time highs already this year. It's not too late for you, too. And you could have Birch Gold help you diversify into physical gold. Birch Gold specializes in helping you convert an existing IRA or 401k in whole or in part into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold, and for no money out of pocket. One recent 5-star review said Birch Gold was, quote, knowledgeable, helpful, non-pressure. Get your free info kit on gold by texting the letters MK to the number 989898. There is no obligation, just useful information. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and countless 5-star reviews, text MK to 989898 and let the experts at Birch Gold help you secure your future today with gold. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.